Welcome, everybody. This is episode 32 with your host, Matthew. I have with me today Claudia Tornquist of Kodiak Copper, who is returning for an update interview. We interviewed back in the fall, I believe, of 2022. She's here to just give a quick recap of the 2022 drilling season and then give us a point us forward, I suppose, into the next 12 months. Just always quick disclaimer, though, right? This is not financial advice. Please read the full disclaimer in the YouTube notes below. But Claudia, thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate your time.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me, Matthew.
Yeah, excellent. So, I guess we'll just jump right into it. I mostly want to talk about 2022, what it did for your company, 2023, what your hopes are for it, but maybe just a little bit of housekeeping, I suppose, right? Why don't we just talk quickly about cash on hand? I know that back in April you completed oversized financing for I think it was about $8 million net. So do you just know what's your cash on hand right now for Kodiak, and what's your plans for it, I suppose?
Yeah, it's a very important question, particularly these days when markets are very weak indeed. We are fully financed for the years. We have, at the moment, $11 million in the treasury, and that pays for all of this year's work. So big drill program and all the other exploration work we have planned at MPD.
And just for clarification, I'm not sure I asked this last time. Is there any outstanding debt for Kodiak?
No, never had any debt.
Yeah, beautiful. So why don't we get into the kind of the meat and potatoes of it here, though? So 2022, right? It was an interesting year, right? You have a story that lots of people follow, right? You're chasing these porphyry systems that are complex until they're not, I guess. And I guess people, this is maybe something that I just think of myself, is that exploration is this iterative and reiterative process, right? You have all these different cycles of exploration and then drilling and then more, above ground, below ground. And so success isn't necessarily defined by finding that one economic grade or one economic assay, but rather gaining that understanding of your system that you're actually trying to explore, though, right? So feel free to disagree with me or correct me, but from my perspective, Claudia, 2022 is this tantalizingly close moment for Kodiak where you were just kind of on the fringes of that true re-rating, what people always look for in the junior sector, right? You had loads and loads of long assays with huge percentages of copper, but not quite economic grades quite yet, at least in the market's eye, that maybe is waiting to re-rate you on something that's a bit more higher grade. Do you feel like that's maybe a fair summary, just a kind of a quick summary of where you're at in terms of 2022?
Well, we're certainly very happy with where we got to in 2022. 2022, as was the year before, was primarily focused on the gate zone, where we made our initial discovery. That was the first target where we drilled below historic shallow exploration and discovered significantly higher grade mineralization at the gate zone. And now over the last 2 years, with in total 48,000 meters, essentially our VP exploration calls it slicing the loaf of bread. So we drilled systematically through the gate zone to demonstrate how big it is, where it extends, and what the grades are. And we're certainly happy with where we got to. We've now a high-grade porphyry center that's about 1 kilometer in length. We've drilled it down to almost 900 meters and across a width of 350 meters. So if you picture that is a sizable body of mineralization. So certainly happy where we got to, happy with the grades. The grades at the gate zone are significantly higher than the material that is mined at the mines in the area. So that's what we want to see. What you typically have in a porphyry system is a high-grade, one or several high-grade centers, zones, that are surrounded by a bigger body of lower-grade mineralization. And often these high-grade zones are very important for the economics. And we were fortunate to hit early on in our exploration progress a quite nice, big, sizable high-grade porphyry center with a gate zone. So good start. What I think characterized last year was a lot of delineation drilling and infill drilling, which is important. We had to demonstrate what we have here at the gate zone and what the size is of it. But that's not really what moves our share price. What the market wants from us, really, and what moves our share price are discoveries. Just like the first discovery at the gate zone generated a lot of excitement. And going forward, that's what this year will be about. Because this year we were not drilling at the gate zone anymore, but we will take the same model and test 4 or 5 other targets with the aim to discover the next gate zone and the next one.
And I think that's a point well made. I'm not trying to critique your work whatsoever. It's all about mastering your land package and gaining understanding of what is there subsurface, slicing that loaf of bread, I suppose, as you say, right? So you talk about the gate zone. A lot of time has been spent there and understanding it. Maybe do you want to talk about how does 2022 and what you've learned from your land package, how does that inform your exploration heading into the 2023 season that's just nicely started for you?
Well, it's with exploration, as you very well said, it's an iterative process, and every drill hole, every geophysical result, every soil sample gives you additional information and furthers your understanding of the system you have on your property. And it's certainly, if you compare to what we know now about MPD to a year ago or 3 years ago, it's no comparison. We have so much of a better understanding of the geology of what we have here than we had when we started, of course. So a lot of progress. What we have always seen in MPD, that was really the reason why we originally acquired it, is the potential to be big, to have multiple centers. In fact, we know we have multiple intrusions on the property. We know that from the historic drilling. And our vision was always that this is a large multicentric porphyry system. We started at the gate zone. That was really the first target that we drilled. And now it's really about replicating what we did at the gate zone at several other targets on the property, and really demonstrating the size potential and the scale of the system we have here at MPD.
And as you referenced, you're switching from that infill to discovery drilling, and like you say, that's really what will move the share price. And for explorers, that's what moves the share price these days. So 2023, then, right? This is where we're headed right now. Is into this. It just nicely started an exciting drilling season here for you. 25,000 meters. I'll bring up a map here for my viewers. But could you maybe just highlight what are your core new targets that you think you'll be honing in on this year?
We're aiming to drill 4 or 5 targets, and the ones that we have prioritized are a number of targets in the southern part of the property that was formerly called X. And that's actually where we have started drilling this year in April. And those targets that are on the priority list are west, south, added 1516. And then we have also targets prioritized in the northern part, in particular the man target. And we will likely also do more work at the Bayer discovery, where we last year discovered a high-grade gold zone. And that's certainly also interesting development, and we'll do some more work there. But the majority of our effort will go into drilling these, like the gate zone, previously drilled porphyry centers, where we have already from previous operators shallow mineralization near surface, and we will test those targets deeper with the aim to, just like at the gate zone, discover and find the higher grade zones, the sources of the mineralization that we know is there.
Which is a core part of your entire thesis, right? Going deeper than previous operators had prior to this. So 2 drills, correct, Claudia? Is that how many you have for the season?
Yes, we have just announced that we've started up the second drill. So first one started in April in the southern part of the property on the west target. And we have updated the market that that was in mid-June or earlier June that we had completed 4 holes at that time, almost 2,500 meters at the west target, and all of those holes had intersected porphyry mineralization, and we had the deepest intercept down to 820 meters. So very encouraging start at the west zone, and we have one drill rig still going there because we like what we see and want to explore it further. And the second drill rig has just started turning in the northern part of our property at the man zone, which is also previously historic drilled, has some very good copper and also gold values. And our last year's geophysical survey has shown a nice big geophysical target underneath the historic drilling and trenching, just like we saw it at the gate zone. And so that's, of course, a very interesting and exciting drill target that we are now testing.
And so maybe let's take a step back, right? From drilling, you're also doing IP surveying, geochem, sampling, trenching. Maybe can you touch on where that's planning to take place this year?
Like in previous years, we will have a sizable geophysical program going on, 20 line kilometers of 3D IP. And also we have a big sampling program planned, 1,500 samples, similar size to what we did in previous years, so quite substantial programs. And that's, of course, big part of our work as well. That's how we discovered a number of new targets that are now new, as in addition to the ones that we have already from the historic drilling. And those new targets are now also progressed towards drill readiness and will eventually also be drilled.
And do those targets, your above ground work, are those targets named as of yet or no?
In our exploration update earlier this year in spring, we laid out the targets and the plans for this year. And in total, we have 18 targets. And yeah, as I said, a number of them historically drilled, and then also a couple of new ones, such as Eclipse and yeah, several other targets that are newly generated from our own regional work.
And yeah, exciting. As you say, 18 targets, 3 have been previously explored by Kodiak, 15 new. I guess maybe just for the sake of posterity, I suppose, which are the 3 that you're returning to?
Well, the 3 we've drilled already is the gate zone, of course, which saw the vast majority of our drill effort. We have done in the last year, and particularly also sort of tested anomalies near gate and only on the sort of, fringes of gate, if you will, and have also had some success at the prime zone, which is very close, sort of just to the east of the gate zone. And then the other target we have tested with some drilling last year is also the Dillard zone, which where we so far have discovered large amount of lower grade mineralization from surface, but haven't been successful yet in honing in on the higher grade source of this lower grade mineralization. So we'll for sure return to Dillard. It's a big target, and there will more work be done, but this year, for now, we are prioritizing these new targets, and we'll do some more work there.
And obviously, this is a state of flux. I know that you can't give precise meterage, but can you even just in terms of a rough breakdown where you might expect or where the market might expect to see those 25,000 meters spent or drilled, the different targets?
Well, we'll be very much guided by what we see, of course, in our drilling. Normally, if you drill the right stuff, then you keep drilling where you're drilling. What we have planned is to test 4 or 5 targets. So with 25,000 meters, that's just in even numbers, 5,000 meters on average per target. But that really depends on really, the results that we see. But yeah, the important thing is we won't just test one target, but we have 4 or 5 on our list. So the chance for several discoveries, and a very exciting year. It's really nothing about this year is incremental. It's really about the next discovery and the next discovery to really demonstrating the scale of MPD.
Which, as you say, it seems boring maybe to the casual observer, but 2 years of laborious work to get to this point where all it takes then is that one headline number to make those results. So people think it is just kind of an overnight headline number, but no, it is multiple years of work of thousands of hours of effort to get there, right? So, I guess maybe I'll ask you. So, Man, Dillard, Bayer, they're all being targeted this year. I guess where. Maybe the question I'm asking you is what's next? Where can we expect after you're done? You're 3 or 4 holes in now. Where do you see yourself heading off to next?
Well, as I said, sort of our second drill is now turning at Man, and we'll be turning there probably for a little while now. And potentially we'll see how things are going. We might add a third drill rig. That judge is still out, or we keep going with 2, and yeah, work our way through our targets through the year. We will be drilling until late in the year. In previous years, we've drilled until late November or December, because we are in a southern, relatively southern area, southern BC, where it's not very cold and not too much snow, so you can work year round. And so, yeah, we have several more months of exploration ahead of us. Are funded for it, so many more results to come before we have to go back to the market.
And so assays are off the lab. What's your expected, I mean, this is the notorious question the last few years, what's the expected turnaround time this season for assays?
I think the lab at the moment are not too congested. We are expecting the first batch of results. This will be the first couple of holes we drilled at the west target in July. So not very long to go anymore. It's obviously exciting to see what we've got there.
And then maybe just, I mean, I'm nearing the end of it. It's a pretty quick thing. We'll do a quick recap here. But I think someone was asking about Mojave, your American land package. Is there, I guess, maybe it's a 2-part question. A, is there any work being done this year? And then B as a follow-up, or maybe as a kind of a tangential or tertiary thing, what are the work or capital requirements attached to that land package?
Well, at the current time, we are not planning to spend any money or do any substantial work. Simply a function of the market. The market is very poor, share prices are down, and it's very hard to raise capital. We're fortunate to be fully funded for all the work at MPD, and we think it's prudent in this climate and the poor markets to focus our funds on our main project at MPD. And so at this stage, we are not planning to do any work at Mojave. Having said that, we like the project. It's a very interesting project, has a lot of discovery potential. And so hopefully once markets turn, we'll be able to return to it. It's still ready. We got it everything done to be able to start drilling.
Perfect. So yeah, I mean, for people that are new to the story or following along and looking for more opportunities to jump in, I think that this is it, right? That as we've kind of clarified, or as we've stated here, that this is that season where there is potentially a transformative move coming here based on discovery, right? Based on the drill turning, based on assays. So for people, I mean, in the junior sector, people love a good assay. And so this is, I think Kodiak deserves people's attention based on that. Claudia, is there anything that you wanted to emphasize or discuss that maybe I'm missing here?
I think you summed it up well. I'm obviously very biased, but I think that our share price, just like everybody else's, is really beaten down at this time. And we have the potential to make several discoveries this year. So if I look at it from an investor's perspective, I would look at that as a buying opportunity. I personally think certainly it's a very exciting time this year. And this year will be a very important and pivotal year for Kodiak.
And maybe one more I can't help but say, but I think a lot of people, if you're in the junior sector, there's so much risk. I don't think, people don't, to use a baseball analogy, don't waste your time in this sector playing for the bunt. You're playing for the home run swing. And I think that that's what Kodiak offers, is that there's just so many targets. The amount of tonnage that's available there, if you keep hitting that, the sheer size of this thing, I think makes it impossible to ignore, right? So no, I think you have a very compelling project. And Claudia, I think short and sweet, I think that's it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Perfect. Have a